I'm having some issue here.
I got it.
Got it. Go ahead. Okay. Right. So sorry about that. Recording is good. Nice. Yeah. So as I said, my name is Frank, and today we're going to be having a set of panelists that are going to be talking to you about their careers in tech and their past experiences in QC. So without further ado, let's get into it. Great. So as I said, we're going to be talking about their stories, where they work, and specifically how they got into tech, right? I think all of us here are mainly computer science or are interested in some degree of technology job. And so I think that'll be a cool little chat. Okay, let's see. Next. Right, so let's start getting to know our panelists. So if you could introduce yourself, when did you graduate Queens College, your name, your current position, and a little bit of what you do at your job would be great. So first we'll start with Jackie, if you're here.
Hey guys. So I graduated in, I think, May 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic. Fun fact, I don't actually work at Warner Media anymore. I'm a back-end engineer for a startup called Conductor. We do search market optimization for companies that subscribe to our service. Did you guys need anything else as an introduction, or
No, that's perfect.
Yep, cool.
Thank you. Great. So next is Brian.
Hi, my name is Brian. I'm a software engineer, graduated in 2015. Currently work at Vesta. Essentially, we work on community building software that connects brands and marketers to consumers using personalized engagement. It's kind of like T-Mobile Tuesday, except you're asked to give a review on the product you redeemed.
Cool. Thank you. Great. Next is Michelle.
Hi guys, my name is Michelle. I did not go to Queens College, but I went to Blue Oak College, and I guess we're part of the CUNY family. So I guess what my experience is pretty relatable to what you guys might have went through. I currently work at Capital One as a developer associate. So Capital One has a program where it trains STEM majors in full stack development. And once you're done with the 6 months training program, you transition into their TDP program, which is a new grad CS program. And currently I'm still going through the boot camp. So my day-to-day might not be a lot like not like similar to a lot of the software engineers that are presented today. We mainly do a lot more lectures, kind of like school, but we do also have projects on the side that are more large scale than you would like work on in school. And yeah, nice to be here.
Awesome, thank you. Nice. Next would be Yasmin.
She's not here right now.
Yeah.
Not here? It's okay. Great, so we'll move on to Ryan.
Hi, I went to Queens College. I didn't graduate and currently in Queens College part-time. The startup I work at is called Tacit. We are a payments platform. We create a payment platform for banks and to do real-time transactions using blockchain. I am a UI developer for a team. It's a very small team. And yeah, that's basically it.
Great, thank you. Nice, and Simon?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, my video's not working. But so hey, I'm Simon. I'm a software engineer for Chase. So I'm a middleware, like backend engineer kind of engineer. Basically, I'm on the investments team. So like whenever you guys like log into your Chase mobile apps and go to like do anything with like investments or like stocks, you could think of me, you know, in the background, just like managing that for you guys. So that's what I do.
Neat. Cool. All right. Next, we have Jefferson.
Hey guys, I'm Jefferson. I graduated in December of 2019, and I work at Google, part of ads optimizations, which is essentially part of Google Ads, and I also work on notifications for that.
Awesome. Great. Yeah, so thank you guys for introducing yourself. You guys sound like you guys are all doing very cool work. So let's get into the Q&A. So remember, if you have any questions that you want to ask our panelists, just put them in the chat and we'll come around and we'll add them at the end. So we can start with a simple question, I think. Let's see, what is something valuable you learned during college that you've translated into your careers? And let me see if anybody wants to pick this up first, or I could pick somebody, whatever you guys want. Cool, okay, so I'll pick somebody. Let's see, how about we go with Ryan?
Sure. I mean, all the stuff we learned in college in software engineering is the most important parts are algorithms, understanding the process of how we structure our programs. I think that's the most important thing to learn. Trying to get invested in learning, like really enjoying the program is the most important part, because if you don't have that, it's kind of hard to continue on in the career. Right.
For sure.
Everything else is kind of like the classes itself. Maybe you'll lose some knowledge here and there, but you'll relearn it on the job.
For sure. Gotcha.
I'm gonna piggyback off of what Ryan said. Keeping up with your skills is really important because you're trying to differentiate yourself from all the other graduates who are looking for the same jobs that you are. So what's really important is your extracurriculars, attending clubs like this, going to hackathons, attending boot camps like CUNY Tech Prep, or I'm trying to remember what the other ones are called. But basically making sure that you're not doing just the bare minimum. And let's see, on top of that, data structures and object-oriented programming is extremely, extremely important, especially if you want to go into backend engineering. The way you structure, like Ryan said, your files, it's not just your files, it's your objects. It's basically the entirety of how you set up how a basic program works. And all these little tiny nuances do add up, and they make your programming faster, or it'll make it easier for other developers to read and understand your code. And especially being able to work in a team environment is very important, because very rarely are you just one person developing by yourself, right? You're gonna have to write documentation, you're gonna have to write legible code in a way that your teammates can understand and push the product that they're selling.
Cool, thank you. Let me see. Yeah, anybody else wants to add in?
I could go next.
Yeah.
So in college, I was not a CS major, I was a stats major. And before that, I was a finance major. So if anything, nothing I've learned in college will translate into my career at the moment. But I feel like there's a lot of soft skills that we gathered when we were in college that are pretty useful when we are in our careers. To echo what Jackie has said earlier, I do agree that joining a lot of these extracurricular activities are really important, because you're really putting yourself out there and meeting people who are in the industry currently and who could be your mentors essentially when it comes time for recruiting. And I feel like that's also really important, because a lot of my internships that I received, although they're not CS related, they are through people that I've met through networking events. A lot of the skills on how to write a resume, how to build a portfolio, I guess if this is relevant for you guys, is through people who actually been through what we're currently trying to go through. And what they've learned is also really valuable to how we could develop our careers and get it started. Another thing I would add on to that would be really owning your own learning. I feel like that's something that probably, like being in CUNY, we do really well, because a lot of times that we are learning on our own, like not everything that's being taught in lectures are complete to a point where we are able to translate that into our careers, and being able to like develop that kind of skill where you take control of your own learning and you supplement that with outside resources are really important in software development. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Let's see, how about,
I could go.
yeah, go ahead.
I would also say it probably goes without saying, but networking is also incredibly key. Building a lot of relationships can give you an advantage, in particular with the job market. You may know someone who works at a place looking for someone with your skills, and that can put you on the company's radar. So I would say that's something that even post college, pretty much having the ability to maintain or create relationships is something that I think people could benefit from.
Cool, yeah, for sure. Let's see, how about Simon, Jefferson, or Herman? Oh, I'm sorry, not Herman.
Yeah, I can go. So one valuable thing I learned in college is like most of the stuff you actually learn in college, you don't really need during the job. So like I believe Michelle mentioned, most of the stuff that you're actually going to do on the job is what you're going to learn like on the side, essentially. Like the data structures and everything is good for like interviews, but like besides interviews, like when you actually like get accepted or get an offer for your job, it's not really gonna translate as much to your actual job. So like I would say like work on data structures, yeah, but like work on more on so like learning how to like be efficiently like able to like go look through your code base as well as like understanding what each line does. That's like really, I guess, like really helpful.
Cool. That was Simon or Jefferson?
That was Simon.
Cool.
For Jefferson, I would say focus more on leak code and algorithms, because you can have connection stuff, you got the interview, but you still got to pass it yourself. And in college, they're not going to teach you how to do leak code, or they're not going to teach you how to optimize your code. You might learn about like time complexity and space complexity, but you don't really put it into practice until you start grinding it out yourself.
Yeah, I agree. Let me see. Anybody else here? I think we went through everybody. Yes, somebody. Great. Okay. Nice. Yeah. So I agree with everything everybody said. I would add to that. I think from my experiences, I think classes have taught me how to get my hands dirty. Like although like I might not, use that knowledge like when I graduate or when I go into a job, but at least I've went through that process of trying to pick at something or trying to decompose something to understand the bigger picture. And I think that's like transferable to any scale, to wherever job you go to. So for sure. Let me see. Next question is, okay, so tell us about your day-to-day and what do you like most about your work? So let's see, how about we start with, yeah, we can do the same order if you guys want. How about Ryan?
Sure.
If you don't mind.
So yeah, it's fine. So I'm a UI developer. In my company, we use something called Jira's, right? Jira is our ticketing or how we manage work, where we get tickets that has the problem that we need to work on or some kind of application or features that we need to add in. Each day I look at my tickets that's due for the week. We run sprints. It's agile programming. So our sprints are 2 weeks, 2 weeks to finish a certain ticket. So mostly it's have my sprint meetings in the morning and then which are stand-ups, and then I basically go on and do our tickets. What I like the most about my work, because it's a startup, could be fast-paced, but I do have some downtime. Everyone's kind of communicating with each other, and I like the team. Right? I like the structure, and I like the people that we work with. So that's what I like the most.
Yeah, very important.
Same with Ryan. My team also does Agile, and I'm pretty sure it's like the standard for tech companies in general. So basically, for us, every 2 weeks, we have a sprint where we kind of plan out what kind of stories, which are basically tasks that we should be working on for those 2 weeks. And then you kind of just like take your pick, you work on whatever you want, and then you finish your story, you pick up another one, et cetera, et cetera. What I do specifically in the backend team is kind of like data engineering. I have to worry about pipelining, making sure that data is being read correctly, transformed correctly, and being inputted to the proper services and architecture correctly. So if you want to get into backend engineering, you probably don't have to do this right now because you guys are still early in your career, but you're going to have to start learning architecture, which is like topics, queues, databases. And yeah, that's pretty much what I'm playing around with every day. I have a couple meetings every day. Some days I have no meetings and I'm just like left to my own devices. But other than that, yeah, pretty chill workspace. So, yep.
Neat. Let's see. Michelle?
Oh yeah, so my day-to-day, like I mentioned earlier, is going to be a little different than everyone else since I am in a boot camp sponsored by Capital One. So my day-to-day, I do have stand-ups where I have like a squad where we talk about what we've done, I guess, yeah, the day before and what we're planning to do today, like the day of. And so usually we'll have lecture style days where we have lectures and learn about the topic of the day, and then we will have sometime, and every Friday it'll be a weekly project. It will be assigned a weekly project that we'll work on for like a couple of days, and we're handed in on Wednesday. And right now we're in our unit project week, and our unit project weeks are usually a week of just us building an application of our choice. And for our unit project for this one, we are building an apartment hunting application. It's pretty cool, and we get to work with the team, and it's a pretty good experience since we do get a lot of hands-on experience while we are working at Capital One.
Oh, sounds fun. Let's see. Brian?
I would say probably it's similar to a bit similar to Ryan and Jackie. In terms of my day-to-day, I work a 9 to 5. So right off the bat, we have a early 10:30 stand-up just to discuss our task for the day and how we're planning on approaching it. So we have about 2 to 3 hours of meetings most days of the week, and we spend the remaining time either planning for the ticket, coding it, developing it, testing it, and stuff similar to that, whether that's alone or pair programming, which my company does a lot. But yeah, essentially we just work very closely as a team, and I would say my favorite part about it is when I'm working alone and I get to listen to music and kind of like chill out and not have to deal with pretty much is when I'm not in meetings, essentially. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, pair programming sounds interesting. Let's see, Simon or Jefferson?
Yeah, sure. So for my day-to-day essentially is the same as like the rest of the panelists. It's 9 to 5. Some days have a lot of meetings, some days I don't. Overall it's pretty chill. But I think for my team specifically, we do a lot of like production deployments, which I dread a lot because like most of them are like late at night, so not to have like customer impact. But it's not too bad. You learn a lot from your job for sure than you would like compared to like if you were to work on like your own projects. I would say it's a really good learning experience overall.
Jefferson here. For my day-to-day, because I work remote, so my hours are pretty flexible. So I could start working anytime between like 7 to 7, essentially, and I just do like 8 hours a day. Lately, I've been doing a lot more just bug fixes and finish up my quarterly projects. And there isn't too much different from everyone else here that's speaking. I might do design docs once in a while for just major milestones. And I like that the most thing out of the, what am I saying? The most I like about my work is that it's really flexible. So it's good to have an understanding team and really understanding manager who could let you take like an hour off in a day or a couple hours off. And sometimes you could work on other projects that have nothing to do with what you're working on now, just to de-stress or keep your mind occupied.
No, nice. Great. So I think that's all of our panelists. Can I get a thumbs up? Cool. Nice. So next question would be, what did you do to secure your first internship or your first job or your first experience that you think impacted where you are today? So yeah, so if you guys want to do, we can hit the line again.
Okay. So my experience is kind of different. I had connections. Basically, I met someone in high school. My dad's friend who was a UI developer. My family's also into tech. Like my dad is IT. His friend is software engineer. That's from government. Goldman Sachs. So very influenced into tech and had the connections. Was received an opportunity to interview for internship at a startup as a UI developer. So got in there during the semester. This was spring 2018, 2019. And went through the interview. I got in, thankfully. And during that semester, I was able to basically make an impression, and they gave me a full-time position, even though I didn't graduate at the time. Gave me a full-time position, so I got out of school for a bit just to work on my career. And you know, student loans are expensive, so I need to pay off some loans.
I had a little bit more of an unorthodox upbringing. I was a pretty crappy student up until like, I want to say late junior year, when I just had a sudden epiphany, like I need to get my stuff together. So what I did was I started attending all these extracurriculars. I went to hackathons, I went to CUNY Tech Prep. That's actually really important. I recommend you guys to check out CUNY Tech Prep or any of the other CUNY funded boot camps, because I know there's quite a few. And basically get your foot in the door there, because sometimes you can't rely on like motivation to kind of teach you certain skills. So having the structure of a boot camp will actually expose you to all these technologies that you're going for. So what CUNY Tech Prep did for me was it taught me full stack web development, which I then used to create like a bunch of projects and really like learn the inner workings of JavaScript, front end, back end, this and that, APIs, working with Node databases. So yeah, all this exposure from these extracurriculars helped me secure my first internship. Also, CUNY Tech Prep also helped me with like resume reviews. They set up mock interviews for me. These are not services that are only found in CUNY Tech Prep. You can literally do this on your own, as long as you have the motivation or the discipline to do so. So you have to get in the mindset of really pushing yourself to, like I said before, put yourself above all these other students out there trying to get the same job. So yeah, be a go-getter and you'll get your first internship.
Totally agree. Cool. Yeah, Michelle.
Yeah, so my first internship is actually in finance. I'm not sure it's like completely relevant to what we're talking about today. So I think I'll just discuss how I secured Capital One's offer. For Capital One, I definitely Googled a lot to see what kind of programs are out there that fits the situation that I'm currently in. I don't have a background in CS. and I do want to enter this field. And there are a couple of programs out, and I did apply to a couple of them. And Capital One's one that like interests me from the beginning. And because of that, I know that I wanted to like get into this program essentially. So what I did is like I leveraged LinkedIn. And what I did is I try to find people who are currently in holding positions in that program that I'm interested in and see how their experience was and how it went. Because I wasn't sure if it will deliver the kind of quality that I'm expecting. And to hear it from people who are actually going through it, it gave me a better picture of like what to expect from that program. And I'm happy to say that it was something that I was looking for, and I applied, and yeah, here I am. So I would definitely say leverage your network, leverage LinkedIn, since LinkedIn is made for you to connect with people who are like in positions that are you're interested in. So definitely use it to your best advantage. And yeah.
Nice. Let's see. Simon or Brian, sorry. Skip.
I would say when I was applying to internships, I also worked on personal projects to build a portfolio and pretty much tried to show off what I could do at the time. And that took a good chunk of time. And eventually there was a company that was interested in pretty much what I had to offer, and they seemed impressed by the work put into it. It wasn't anything crazy, but I think I made like 12 projects over the course of a few months that it just kind of like had basic capabilities, but it was enough to have multiple conversations with them before they finally selected me.
Nope. Yeah, I think personal projects are definitely a booster. Let's see, Simon or Jefferson.
Yeah, Simon, I could go first. So just during my first internship, what I would say is literally just grind lead code a lot and apply to like as much like companies as you can, because at the end of the day, it is just like a numbers game. So like statistically speaking, the more you apply, the more chances you get to like interview. Also like securing your first internship might seem like a really hard thing to do, but like as you get more and more practice, you'll eventually like get used to it. And even like not even internships, for like even like full-time jobs, it helps like a lot. If you just like do the process repeatedly over and over again, you'll eventually get used to it. And that's how I did it.
It's Jefferson here. For me, for my first internship, I really didn't have much connections, so I essentially just applied for hundreds of jobs, and I would just get lucky with a job and start from there. I just used my first internship, and then I got connections from there, and I started reaching out to get future internships. So if you're stuck, just start applying everywhere, and then you can move forward from there on.
Oh, yeah, cool stories. Let's see, next question. Let's see. How should new grads prepare for finding a full-time job after graduation? Any resume or interview tips? Or what exactly worked for you if you haven't mentioned it already?
Good question. In terms of finding a full-time job, experience really matters in terms of finding a full-time job. If you had done internships before, that's a plus. All right, if you're like a junior, or even you're a sophomore or a freshman, apply. All right, if you're not doing it in the summer, this is a good opportunity. And it's a good way to know whether or not you want to be in the field or which type of company you want to be in, right? Once you do the internship and you do well, you'll be able to get a leg up, right? You'll be able to have people connections there and say, hey, I want to come back. If you like the company enough, they'll give you a position, right? In terms of interviewing, a lot of practice, right? Having people try to give you interview questions, not easy ones, difficult ones, just to be able to process your thoughts. In interviews, you need to think out loud, right? Be able to communicate. And that's actually part of the goals of what interviewer wants to see, is you able to communicate through your thoughts.
Yeah, okay. So the two most important things to remember, if you're applying a lot and you're not getting any emails back, then you need to look at your resume. If you are taking a lot of interviews and you're not hearing anything back, then you need to work on your interview skills, which seems really obvious, but let me explain. So for your resume, you kind of want to beef it up in a way like what I said before, extracurriculars, like Ryan said, internships, showing off some really nice projects that when they ask you during the interview, you can talk it out and in a way that is makes you seem very excited and eager to learn at the new job. And especially during the interview, they're not expecting you to know everything right off the bat. They just want to know that you can go above and beyond just sitting in a 9 to 5 doing the bare minimum. So for interview tips, let me think. Like Ryan said as well, when you're having these paired programming interviews, your coding interviews, they don't really care if you get the right answer. Of course, having the right answer is good, but you need to be able to talk it through. If you're stuck, you need to be able to talk out your process and be able to explain or ask for help in a way that like someone else can help you. Like I said, software development is a very team-oriented job. So you need to be able to communicate with these people, especially if the person interviewing is on the team you're going to be on. So being able to communicate your how you're going about taking the interview and asking for help when you're getting stuck, these are all very important skills to have.
As for my tips as to how new grads should prepare for finding a full-time job, I would say earlier the better. I wouldn't wait till you graduate and then you're gonna go start applying. I would say start applying maybe sophomore year, not for full-time, but for like internships. So you get that junior internship, and then from that junior internship, you could easily get a full-time offer that will guarantee you a job after you graduate. That's probably like the best route. And I felt like through that route, it'll be a lot more lenient in terms of like, there'll be a lot more positions open because a lot of companies have these campus programs where they have like a set amount of seats that they're trying to recruit every year. And let's say they have 100 seats they need to fill, they're going to definitely be a lot more lenient towards the people who are interviewing. I'm not saying that's easy, like it's super easy to let everyone in, but like you definitely wouldn't work as hard as you would after you graduate, because I feel like once you graduate, the jobs that you are going to be applying for are for positions that they need to fill at like immediately, not like campus programs where it's more organized and there's more like a set number of seats that you need to fill. So I would recommend you guys, if you guys are still early on in your college career, to definitely start thinking about it now and get ahead of the game and wait till you I'm sorry, I'm blanking out, but like, yeah, just don't wait till last minute, and then definitely have a resume. It doesn't really matter if you have any experience. I feel like what Jackie mentioned is also pretty accurate. Like just show that you're willing to learn and you are able to absorb things like a sponge, and demonstrating that you are capable of, I guess, doing the job that they will be asking you for later on.
Yeah, I would also echo pretty much what Michelle said. I think the earlier you could do it, the better. I think there's a lot of companies that do want people, like they do enjoy offering internships. There's a lot that you could gain from that, especially after you graduate. And I would definitely say working on your social image, updating your LinkedIn with experience, the more you get them, and making sure they're up to date, and updating your GitHub with any projects that you think you would want employers to see. I'm actually guilty of not being the best at keeping my image up to date. If you look at my LinkedIn URL, it's like 100 characters. So that's something that I am guilty of not working on. So I would definitely say that make sure that your portfolio or your image out there is clean and up to date and what you'd want employers to see.
Yeah, so like me and Jefferson basically have the same like thought. Just literally what the panelists said. On top of that, like I mentioned before, just grind out leak code a lot. Helps a lot. You know, you sometimes in the leak code questions, after you've done a couple of them, you'll see like a lot of like patterns that get repeated that you get asked like during interviews. So you can like you know, like change it or like transform like that specific question to like ones you've seen on leak code, which helps a lot.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, so just want to make sure, Jefferson, that you both echo that, right? Or that's what you guys mentioned.
Yeah, me and Jefferson.
Cool. Yeah, that's cool. Nice. Yeah, I think something that I would like to share also is that I think when you're starting like undergrad, you don't know like what you're gonna do, right? You're like, you have like an idea, but like I know I didn't know what I was gonna do. So I think just trying like a bunch of things works. I think as long as you're not doing nothing, I think your time is definitely worth that something. But yeah, let's see on to the last question. What are some useful online resources to help students with their studies and career in tech? Or like how did you guide yourself through this process of finding an internship or finding a full-time job? Yeah, did you find any online resources that you thought were very valuable? And if so, we would love to hear them.
Well, I think Simon and Jefferson kind of been hammering this home on leak code. A lot of it, just a lot of practice for coding. It's really useful, and it also allows you to connect with people, right? If people want to see your leak code profile, they can see what you've done, and kind of brings home to employers what you have, right? In terms of career, there's a lot of resources online. I use Indeed, right? We use LinkedIn. So I have monitors, and like LinkedIn keeps pinging me, hey, there's a new job offer. So get yourself out there.
Same thing, leak code. That will strengthen your algorithm skills, especially for interviews. But I want to take it away from resources, since all I really did personally was Google everything and watch YouTube videos to help me understand concepts. What's really important is, for example, when you are trying to create a project for your resume, looking up those tutorials where like they go through it step by step is great. That's awesome. You should definitely do one, finish it to completion. But afterwards, you really should be adding things yourself and learning how to ask the right questions, learning how to Google, developing your own way of troubleshooting. There's not going to be a tutorial when you work. So being able to just basically read documentation and being able to figure it out is such an important skill. Yeah, I don't know. That's a hard question. You have to develop that on your own.
Yeah, it's just like by doing that you passively learn, right? Great. Let's see. Michelle?
Useful online resources. I would say I heard that leak code is very important. In that like a lot of the interviews that you'll be receiving, they will quiz you on data structures and algorithms. But like I said, I'm not really familiar with this. I'm kind of going through a boot camp myself. So I would pass it on to the next panelist and let them give you argument.
I'm gonna also say leak code and hacker rank too. If you could get I would never tell people to pay for something, but if you're having trouble with it, I think leak code offers a paid subscription that would explain pretty much the coding problem solutions more in depth. But essentially, I would recommend those two. Also, when you are working and generally developing, Google and Stack Overflow will probably be your best friends. So mainly those four.
Yeah, like similar to what Brian said, Jefferson and I actually 100% recommend purchasing that like a LeetCode Premium, because you can tailor like forever, like if it's a large company, most likely like LeetCode actually has like a database of like their most like frequently asked questions for that specific company. So it really helps a lot, like what frequent questions they ask to like other like, you know, people that might be applying for the same job.
Cool. Yeah, for sure. So LeetCode, and LeetCode. Yeah, I would also say a good book is Cracking the Coding Interview. It's like that green book that I think it's like the Bible if you want to.
Yeah, okay. Actually, thank you for mentioning that. So Cracking the Coding Interview is literally the basis of how the tech industry is basing their interviews now. That book changed the way they're conducting interviews. It's why it's so like LeetCode focused now. Before they were asking like brain teasers. I actually had an interview where they asked me a brain teaser and I'm like, what did I apply to? Is this a real job? I did not pass that interview. I was not expecting it.
What was the brain teaser?
It was like, assume I have 2 jugs and I'm trying to put out a fire that holds 10 gallons of water. And there's like, how can you, I really could not. There were like 4 or 5 brain teasers. Another one was like, assume there's a tower that's like 10 meters tall and it's just this and that. It's just, I'm not gonna need to know any of this.
I mean, that's clearly a software engineering question. Yeah, I think that was the last.
Sorry?
No, I was gonna say, I think that was the last question.
Yes, let's see. What's next? Yeah, so those were the 5 questions that we had for our panelists. I think we were able to get very insightful views on not only what the day-to-day life is in the tech industry, but also how to break through or how to get your foot in and what these people did to have a successful start in their careers. Yeah, so if you have any other questions.
So I've collected a few questions that was asked in the chat. The first one was, I know this is a weird question, but if you're doing bad in the class, but still manage to pass, should you retake it to understand it more?
Let me start off by saying something. If you pass the class, you shouldn't really need to retake it. Right? If it's something that you have trouble understanding, message the professor, right? If you want to learn more or learn more on your own. But taking the class again, it's kind of redundant. It's also a waste of your time and money, right? Because a class is a lot of work, and if you retake it, I'm not even sure you can retake it once you pass it, but yeah, I think it's a waste of time.
Your grade gets averaged with the grade you have if you passed it. I think if you get a D or an F, it gets dropped, but I think C and above, it gets averaged in, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, so the next one, which I think was a popular one, this one was for Michelle. Could you explain how the Capital One program works? Are you allowed to do training remote or do you go into office?
Yeah, I could definitely answer a lot of questions that showed up in the chat. So like my program is actually based in Virginia, and because of COVID, it's currently remote. So once COVID's over, the training will end, the program itself will all happen in Virginia. So if you are interested in applying, be prepared that you might have to relocate to Virginia for the duration of your program, which is including the 6-month training program and the 2-year TDP rotations that you're going to be going under after you graduate. But I know that a lot of us like to be in New York. I agree. I don't really want to move to Virginia either, but there is a program at JP Morgan that is pretty similar to what I'm going through at Capital One, and it's called JP Morgan TechNet, I believe. I also applied, and I could walk you through the process and how it's like if you guys are interested. It's in New York, so you don't have to move if you don't want to. And then I think the JP Morgan program, the training program, is only 3 months versus the 6 months in Capital One. And the pay is the same too, so you don't have to worry about like that. And then what is it? I think the only con I can think of is that the training program, they'll be expecting you to relocate to Delaware. But once you're done with your 3 months, you get to be in, you're asked to go back to New York. So but when you're in Delaware, the apartment, the housing, transportation, food is all paid for by JP Morgan. So all you gotta do is just be there and learn, and everything's just taken care of. And once you're 3 months over, you go back to New York and you work at JP Morgan's office as a software engineer. And yeah, so that's an alternative if you guys don't want to go to Virginia. But like to talk a little bit about our program, it's 6 months training program. It's full stack, so they go over front end, back end, a little bit of object-oriented programming. There are unit projects after each session. So the front end, there'll be after you finish your front end unit, you have a unit project after each one of them, and then there will be I think checkpoints where they check to make sure that you are learning the material well. And let's say if you don't really do well, they'll help you out. There are resources where to make sure that like you are on track with everyone. And yeah, and then like Ryan mentioned, there is a stipend for the move, but it's not a Capital One did not give me a lot, just saying. But yeah, there's a stipend for you to move, and then what is it? And then after the 6 months, you are into the TDP 2-year rotation, which is a new grad CS program. And one thing I really liked about it is that you get to complete a survey where you can indicate your interests. For example, if you're more interested in front end, or you're more interested in the back end, or you want to do mobile development, you can indicate that in your survey, and Capital One try their best. It's not guaranteed, to try their best to match your interests. And so you can spend that year learning the area of development that you're interested in. And if you guys have any questions, you guys drop in the chat, and I'm more than happy to answer them.
And the second one was, how did you prepare for your CS interview since you weren't a CS major?
Oh yeah, so the thing is that like this program is meant for non-CS majors, STEM majors. So they aren't expecting you to know coding at all. It's more of like, I want to know if this person could think critically, think technically, have problem solving skills. And I feel like if you are like a math major or or an engineering major, you do just fine in that interview. It's not really serious like the way like they made the other software engineering interviews sound during the panel, because you don't really know anything and you're going into a program to learn, and they know that, and they'll be more I guess gentle with you and during the entire process, and be very understanding that you're not expected to know anything going in, and they'll interview I guess to reflect that. So because I didn't have a CS major, I wasn't really hassled, I guess, during the interview, like with leak code questions and all of that sort of stuff. It kind of gauged my technical skill, I guess critical thinking skills and problem solving skills. And also there was a behavioral section to just kind of gauge and see how passionate I am in becoming a software engineer, and I guess if I would be a good fit for the role or for the program.
To add on to what Michelle said, especially with the interview process, be honest about what you have on your resume. If you don't know something, don't have it on your resume, they will ask you it. So it also allows them to see what level of knowledge you know, and they'll tailor the interview around that, right?
Yeah, and then I want to, sorry, you go.
No, you can go first.
Oh, sorry about that. But yeah, I want to echo whatever Ryan said, because I do think that you have to be honest on your resume. Everything that's on your resume is fair game. If they do bring something up on your resume saying that, let's say you wrote that you you know Python, like you better know Python because they're gonna interview you and like quizzing you all these like Python stuff. And if you show up and you don't really know anything about it except for how to print hello world, like they're not gonna have it. So you definitely should be honest on your resume. Even though it might not look like there's much on your resume, at least you're honest and you're really showcasing your skills that you actually have, not skills that you won't, because they'll definitely catch you. So keep that in mind. I feel like that'll be, yeah, I feel like that'll be pretty important.
I was gonna say, don't do yourself the disservice of not applying to an internship because you feel like you don't meet the qualifications. An internship is not a job. You are literally getting paid to be a student and learn on the job there. Rarely, if ever, the work you do there will be pushed into production. In fact, I've probably never, but they'll probably give you a project that's like kind of a sideline of what they're really working on and just kind of teaching you. So like literally what I mean is you're getting paid to learn. You're getting paid to be a student. Apply to internships anyway. Even if it looks like they're asking for 5 years of experience, they're really not.
This one is a question from Michelle to Jefferson. How were you able to land a job at Google since it's okay? How are you able to land a job at Google? And any tips or advice for those who feel like reach for that?
For Google, I actually joined the residency before, or like I got offered to join the residency before I graduated. I think it just ended and now it's called the early career or career immersion. If you Google it, it should pop up. So what that is, it's like a 1-year training program for those that aren't fully ready to be an L3, which is the entry level software engineer. And after that 1 year, now it should be you're guaranteed to promote to an L3. So you start off with a lower salary and you have 2 rotations with, I believe, a 3-month training. So from there, you can just move on to whatever role you want, and you get to essentially pick from 3 separate teams. I might be wrong because I'm not sure how they changed it now. For Google, I really just applied because I didn't have too many connections at Google. I don't think I had a single one actually. And I was lucky enough to get an interview. And I just did a lot of lead code. I think I used to do like 3 hours of lead code a day for it. And aside from that, I did a lot of projects. So projects do help a lot. And if you could talk about it during your interviews, it's even better.
The residency, is that different from the cloud residency? I think they have.
I honestly, I didn't even know there was a cloud residency.
Okay.
I'm assuming it should be the same because they made all residencies like a similar format right now.
Interesting. Michelle, how was your Chase and C1 interviews like, and did it involve any CS?
Like I said earlier, there isn't any CS involved because I don't know. It's a training program, so you're not expected to know anything. And so like rest assured, if you guys are interested in applying, just go ahead, give it a shot. I know for JD Morgan, they did give you a hacker rank, but like I didn't even know what I was doing on that one. So you don't have to worry about it. And I got the offer at the end of the day. So like just go through, give it a shot. It doesn't hurt to try. And yeah.
At Jefferson, what is the interview process like for the training program? How did you stand out amongst more qualified candidates?
The interview process, I believe, was it an online screening first? You did it too, right?
It was phone.
First was phone.
I think so.
I think it was 3 rounds. The first is either a online or phone screening that me and Simon both don't remember about. And then afterwards, we have 2 rounds of phone interviews / video interviews where you have, I think, 45 minutes each with 2 different people. It's basically easy / medium lead code. I'd say there's more medium lead code, and then occasionally, if you're really unlucky, you're going to get a hard lead code. So just be prepared for that. For the interview process, yeah, that was basically it. There wasn't too much behavioral. Like if you end an interview early, they'll ask you like 1 or 2 behavior interviews, and it's on a Google Docs. So make sure you know your styling really well. As for standing out amongst like more qualified candidates, I don't think there was too much on my resume that would actually compare to like a typical Google engineer. If anything, I feel like I had less on my resume since I did come from QC and my GPA wasn't the highest. So for me, it was just trying to do the best you can on the algorithms and get an interviewer to really like you. So from there, you can build relationships. On a side note, you are not allowed to know the interviewer's full name. So you can't contact them when you're getting interviewed. So you just want to like have a conversation and you probably can't talk to them until you join Google.
I'm not sure if like the round one was similar for you guys, but for me it was like just like them going over your resume and like literally every detail that you've written on your resume they would ask you about. Um, that was round one for me. I'm not sure if it was the same for you guys.
Oh yeah, I never had that. Also, it depends on your recruiter. If you have a really good recruiter, they'll do everything for you. But if you have a pretty shitty one, they'll just take a look at your resume and ignore it. So your recruiter matters a lot, and that's basically just pure luck.
Irene asked the question, which I think is a really great question. How do you negotiate salary as a new hire in the field?
That's kind of a hard question for new hires, especially because there's so many more new grads compared to like software developers aiming for senior roles. You know, the like new grad position is basically like the gatekeeper to the rest of the tech industry. So unless you have a lot of other offers under your belt, or you have time to wait for like the perfect offer, that's going to be hard. But to answer the actual question, you have to know how to communicate with people. Some people are very shrewd, or they're very what's the word, direct. You want to, if you're going to ask for a higher salary, you have to be able to convince them that you are worth it, and that the other candidates that they're interviewing are not. That's really hard to do. I really don't have much advice for negotiating a salary as a new hire. What I can say is that you should definitely negotiate at least $5,000. That's like on the table. Anyone can pick up $5,000 because it's cheaper to give you that $5,000 than it is to keep going through the process and looking for another candidate. Yep, that's it for me.
I would pretty much echo what Jackie said. Also, you have to know your worth, and you have to know like it is kind of a tough situation just because you're trying to convince the employers that I think everyone generally wants the most you could get, but you have to convince people who have other candidates talking to them that the amount that you want will benefit them. They'll get their money's worth. So that's a tough one. I actually agree with Jackie on that. That's pretty tough to calculate, but it's important to know your worth. So if you feel like you're worth a certain number, and you're not just saying it because you want more money, you genuinely feel like you're worth a certain amount, I would definitely say push it as much as you can. But just know that, like, again, if you don't believe it, if you're just doing it for the money, but you know you may not be able to, um, I guess, justify it, then I guess I don't know how to properly answer that myself.
One thing I know that you could probably check while you're applying is, or before the offer, is check Glassdoor and see what the general offers for the field is, and also for their company, right? Check the reviews, also check how much their offerings are, right? You want to make sure that you're not being lowballed. If it's way below what you've seen online, that's a red flag. And if you really want to be in the company, you do your research. Right.
That's a great response. I did actually have a question. as like a CS major in your undergrad years, you're all basically taught the same things throughout every class. But the tech industry has so many different like fields to it. There's front end development, back end, full stack, there's cybersecurity, etc. How do you guys and girl like know which path you wanted to take and what influenced you to take it?
I can go. I specifically went for full stack web development. Because it was like the path of least resistance, because I joined CUNY Tech Prep, where they, taught me full stack web development. But on top of that, full stack web development kind of teaches you like the broad knowledge needed for front end and back end development, on top of letting you create projects that are very visual, which definitely helps with your interviews, because you need to be able to explain your project to interviewers. And sometimes if you have like a really good backend program, it's kind of hard, not to say that like the program that you wrote is not good, but you have to be able to convince the interviewer of what you've done. And when you have like a visually appealing project, you kind of like trick the interviewer into thinking it's better than what it isn't. I don't know how else to put that.
Does anyone else have any questions? I know we're a bit over time. If not, I think we will end the Q&A here.
Yes, I just want to add one more thing. Yeah, so these are, we want to thank you all for coming to this session. I know it's a Friday, so you could be partying or, I don't know, playing beer pong. But thank you all for being here. It was really great meeting you all, especially all of our panelists. I definitely learned something new, about the tech industry and, and how to prepare for these roles, especially as you're coming out of college and you're a senior, right? So yeah, here's their LinkedIn and their contact information if you'd like to hit them up, or hopefully it's okay with them. And then you can like ask questions if you want to do that more. But yeah, so thank you all for joining our event. And I hope to see you guys in the future as well. So thank you.
Before we go, I want to take a photo. Hold on.
Oh.
Okay, wait. Smile. Okay, I took like 3 photos. Thank you.
Amazing. Great. So yeah, thank you guys. So hope
Thank
you
you.
guys have a good weekend.
You too.